The smile that hides the weight. They look at you and see strength. They see the smile, the calm voice, the polite nod, the way you show up day after day, like everything's fine. But they don't see the truth. They don't feel the ache in your chest when you wake up, the heaviness in your soul that no one talks about, the silent battles you fight before your feet even touch the ground. You're not broken. You're just tired, but not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. This is a deeper exhaustion, the kind that lives in your spirit. It comes from carrying too much for too long, from being strong for everyone, except yourself. You smile because it's expected. You show up because you have to. You keep going because stopping doesn't feel like an option. But let's pause for just a moment. Let's talk, not the surface-level small talk. Let's talk about you, because I know what it feels like to smile while silently screaming inside, to show up at work, with friends, with family, and feel like a ghost in your own life. To wonder, is this really all there is? Will anyone ever see how tired I am, without me having to fall apart? Let me tell you something no one else will. You're not weak for feeling this way. You're not failing because you're tired. In fact, the very reason you feel this way is because you've been holding everything together for too long. People don't understand what it costs to be okay all the time, to be the dependable one, the strong one, the resilient one. But strength isn't smiling while you drown. Strength is being real about the water rising around you. Let's go back to the beginning. There was a time, maybe long ago, when you didn't feel this tired. You were younger, freer. You didn't overthink every word. You didn't carry the guilt of saying no. You weren't afraid of disappointing people by being yourself. But somewhere along the way, things changed. Maybe someone made you feel like your emotions were too much. Maybe you had to grow up fast because no one else showed up. Maybe life kept throwing storms your way, and you never had time to dry off before the next one hit. So you learned to survive, to push it down, to smile through it, to be okay, even when you weren't. And the world rewarded you for it. They said, "Wow, you're so strong. You always have it together. You're so positive. I wish I were like you." But what they didn't see was the cost of that image. What it took out of you to hold it all in, to always be the calm in the chaos, even when you were the one drowning. There's something sacred about the kind of tired you're feeling. It's not laziness. It's not weakness. It's your soul whispering, "Please stop. Please check in. Please come back to me." But you've learned to ignore that voice, haven't you? Because there are bills to pay, people to care for, deadlines to meet. So you silence the part of you that needs rest, the part of you that needs gentleness, the part of you that needs to cry, scream, break, just for a moment. And instead, you smile, because the world doesn't make room for tired souls. It glorifies the hustle, the grind, the keep going no matter what. But let me ask you this, who's holding you while you hold everyone else? Where do you go when you need to fall apart? And when was the last time someone looked at you and said, "Hey, you don't have to be strong right now. You're allowed to rest"? This isn't just a motivational video. This is a mirror, a safe place, a reminder. You don't have to keep performing strength to be worthy of love. You don't have to smile to deserve kindness. You don't have to explain your pain to justify your rest. You are allowed to pause, to breathe, to feel, to heal. Your tired soul is not a flaw. It's a signal that something within you is asking for attention, compassion, space. So before we go any further, take this in. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not alone. You're just human. And being human is heavy sometimes. But there's a beauty in the breakdown, a quiet strength in the softness. And we'll explore that in part 2, because your story isn't over. In fact, it's just beginning. The quiet war within you're surrounded by people every day. You pass them in hallways, sit across from them in meetings, send smiley-faced texts that say, "I'm good." But deep inside, there's a quiet war going on. A war no one sees, because you've become flawless at hiding it. You show up. You meet the deadline. You answer the calls. You're there for everyone. But when you're finally alone, when the door closes and the lights go out, that's when the weight shows up. Not on your shoulders, on your soul. The memories, the regrets, the questions you don't have answers for, the fear that maybe, just maybe, this tiredness is forever. That no matter how many days pass, you'll always feel behind, empty, unnoticed, disconnected from who you once were. And yet, you still smile. Because if you don't, they'll ask what's wrong. And you don't even know where to start explaining. How do you explain to someone that the reason you feel so tired isn't because of work or people or even your circumstances? It's because somewhere along the way, you abandoned yourself. There was a version of you who dreamed loudly, who danced without checking the mirror, who believed the world had a place for them, just as they are. But that version got quiet, not because they were wrong, but because life was loud. Disappointments, rejections, loss, loneliness, shame. So you made yourself smaller. You started becoming what others expected. You adjusted, adapted, filtered, shrunk, and the world clapped for it. It told you, good job. You fit in now. Good job. You're normal. But your soul? It was aching. Because even though you fit in, you didn't feel whole. That's the exhaustion you carry. It's not just about doing too much. It's about being too little of who you really are. Some nights, you lie in bed and wonder, what if I could just be me? The real me again? What if I stopped pretending? What if I stopped trying to earn rest, love, or peace, and just let myself have it? But then reality knocks. You have responsibilities, people depending on you. And besides, after all this time, would anyone even recognize the real you? Here's the truth. The real you never left. They've just been waiting for you to stop long enough to hear them whisper, I'm still here. And I'm tired too. Can we come home now? Home isn't a place. It's a return to your soul, to your voice, to your truth. And part of that truth is this. You don't always have to smile. You don't always have to push through. You don't always have to carry it all alone. Because your worth was never in your productivity. Your strength was never about never falling apart. True strength is the courage to break and still believe you can rebuild. So let me ask you something brave. When was the last time you were honest, really honest, with someone? Not the polite, yeah, I'm fine kind of honest. The trembling, raw, I'm not okay and I don't want to fake it anymore kind of honest. Maybe never. Because being real means being seen. And that's scary, especially when your whole life has been about being safe. But here's the catch. What keeps you safe also keeps you stuck. And your tiredness? It's the soul's way of saying, I want freedom more than I want safety. You've worn the mask long enough. You've played the role long enough. It's okay to outgrow it now. Because there's a new chapter ahead. And the person you're becoming, the one rising from all this silent pain, they're not just going to survive. They're going to live. Not for others. Not for appearances. For you. And no, you won't get there overnight. Healing takes time. Reconnection takes time. Believing in yourself again, it all takes time. But let this video be the first seed. The one that reminds you. Speech balloon, you are not invisible. Speech balloon, you are not behind. Speech balloon, you are not weak. You are in a season of remembering. The mask we learned to wear when you were a child, your emotions were pure. You didn't calculate your reactions. You didn't fake laughter or hide your tears. You just felt joy, anger, fear, sadness, wonder, all of it. But somewhere along the way, someone said, don't cry like that. Be strong. Don't make it about you. No one wants to hear your problems. And so, piece by piece, you learned to silence yourself. You traded authenticity for approval, truth for tolerance, depth for surface, and you wore that mask so well, even you forgot what your real face looked like. And now you walk through life feeling like you're always performing. Even when you're alone, you smile out of habit. You say yes when your soul screams no. You show up when all you want is rest. Because you've built your value around being strong, being capable, being unshakable. But let me ask you, who gave you that script? Who told you that being loved means being useful? Who convinced you that your softness was a flaw, not a strength? Because they were wrong. The truth is, your soul isn't tired because you're weak. It's tired because you're living as someone you were never meant to be. You weren't born to people please. You weren't born to survive off of scraps of validation. You weren't born to hide your sensitivity like it's shameful. You were born with fire. Not just the fire to do things, but the fire to feel deeply. That fire didn't disappear. It's just been smothered by years of pretending. But here's the good news. What's real can't be erased. It can only be rediscovered. Let's pause here. Close your eyes for a moment. Now imagine this. A version of you that doesn't carry everyone else's weight. A version of you that isn't exhausted by overthinking every word, every action. A version of you that wakes up and doesn't dread the day ahead. Can you see it? That's not fantasy. That's clarity. That's your soul reminding you. You weren't meant to live in pieces. You were meant to live in wholeness. But that kind of life, the one where you don't hide anymore, it takes courage. Because being yourself will cost you. Warning, it might cost you certain relationships. Warning, it might cost you the comfort of staying silent. Warning, it might cost you the illusion of always being in control. But what you gain in return, Dove peace that doesn't depend on anyone else. Dove joy that isn't performative. Dove alignment with your true self, not your conditioned self. The smile you wear then won't be fake. It'll be real, because it'll be yours. Let's get brutally honest for a moment. You've been taught to celebrate strength in others, the ones who hustle, who never stop, who grind through the pain. But that's not strength. That's survival. And your soul is done surviving. It's begging you to live, to reclaim the version of you that knows how to rest without guilt, to say no without apology, to cry without shame, to dream without asking permission. That version of you still exists. They're underneath the layers of exhaustion and performance. They're not gone, just waiting. And maybe you're thinking, but I've spent so long being this version of myself. How do I even begin to change? Here's how: one brave choice at a time. Not a full transformation overnight. Not a dramatic escape. Just tiny, quiet acts of rebellion against your own numbness. Like finally saying, no, I can't make it tonight. Actually, I'm not okay. I need help. I need time. I need to matter to me again. These are not selfish words. They are soul-saving ones, rebuilding the self you lost. So, here you are, standing in the rubble of everything you've silently carried. Tired, but aware. And awareness is the beginning of rebirth. Most people don't get to this point. They feel the ache, but bury it. They feel the weight, but numb it. They go through life surviving, not living. But not you, because you're still here, still listening, still hoping there's something on the other side of this emptiness. And there is. But let's be clear, healing is not a straight line. You'll have days where you feel alive again, and days where you feel like you're drowning in silence. There will be moments of clarity, when you see your worth so clearly, it brings tears to your eyes. And moments of relapse, when old patterns whisper, you haven't changed at all. But hear me, relapse isn't failure. It's a checkpoint, a reminder, a lesson. Growth is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming honest. So what does rebuilding actually look like? It starts with listening to your soul like you would a child. Not judging, not rushing, not silencing. Just asking, Cyclone, what do you need right now? Cyclone, what are you tired of pretending about? Cyclone, what makes you feel alive, even if it's small? Then, you honor those answers. Even when they don't make sense to others. Even when they're inconvenient. Even when they scare you. Because that's how trust is rebuilt. Not with others, but with yourself. Maybe for you, rebuilding looks like green circle finally taking that walk in the morning, not for fitness, but for peace. Green circle picking up an old hobby, not for productivity, but for joy. Green circle setting boundaries, even when your voice shakes. Green circle sitting in silence, just to hear what your soul has been trying to say for years. These aren't small things. They are acts of revolution, quiet ones, but powerful. Because every time you choose you send a message to your spirit. I haven't forgotten you. I know you're tired, but I'm coming back for you. And here's something people don't talk about enough. The process of becoming whole again often means letting go of people who only knew the broken version of you. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it hurts. But your healing will make some people uncomfortable, especially those who benefited from your silence, your compliance, your constant giving. Not everyone will celebrate your growth. But growth is not a group project. You don't need the world's permission to return to yourself. You just need your own. Think of your soul like a garden. You can't scream at plants to grow. You can't water them once and expect miracles. You tend to them. Every day, gently, patiently. Some days it looks like progress. Some days like stillness. But every day matters. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are becoming. And in that becoming, you'll rediscover your voice, your desires, your fire. Not the fire that burns you out, the fire that lights you up. Let's not romanticize this journey. It will be messy. It will be lonely at times. But it will be real. And in a world obsessed with perfection, being real is the most radical thing you can be. You don't need to chase happiness. You need to build alignment. And alignment comes from asking yourself, what feels right? What feels wrong? What feels like me? And then choosing, again and again, to move toward what feels true. even if it's slow, even if it's quiet, even if no one else sees it but you. Rising from within, so now, here you stand, not in defeat, but in awakening. You've walked through the weight of pretending. You've felt the ache of exhaustion masked by smiles. You've peeled back the layers of silence and performance. And maybe, for the first time in years, you've heard your soul speak again. It didn't shout. It whispered, "I'm still here, and I want more than survival." Let's make this real now. Let's talk about what happens when you stop being a prisoner of your own performance. Because the journey doesn't end with awareness, it begins there. And you don't rise by waiting to be rescued. You rise when you choose to no longer betray yourself for comfort, for convenience, or for the approval of others. Rising is a quiet rebellion, a soul-level decision. It's when you stop asking, "What do people expect of me?" and start asking, "What does the truth require of me?" And that truth, it will shake your foundation at first, because it will ask you to, small blue diamond, let go of roles you've outgrown. Small blue diamond, say goodbye to relationships that only love your brokenness. Small blue diamond, step into rooms where you don't have to shrink to be accepted. Small blue diamond, choose rest without guilt. Small blue diamond, choose you, even when it's inconvenient. That's not selfishness, that's alignment. And alignment is where energy flows, where clarity lives, where purpose awakens. Here's a truth you may not want to hear, but need to. Your soul got tired because you've been living someone else's version of life. The job you chose out of fear, the people you stayed with out of obligation, the smile you forced because it was easier than explaining your pain. But that version of you, it's not your enemy. It was your protector. You survived. You adapted. You did the best you could with what you had. But now, you're no longer surviving. You're being called to rise. So what does rising look like? It looks like purple circles speaking up when your voice trembles. Purple circles slowing down in a world that worships speed. Purple circles saying, "I don't know," without shame. Purple circles saying no without explanation. Purple circles saying yes to your dreams, even the ones that scare you. It's building a life that feels like you, not one that impresses strangers, not one that earns applause, but one that brings your nervous system peace, your heart resonance, and your spirit home. It won't be easy. People may question you. Some will leave. And yes, there will be days you question yourself. But you will also experience moments you never thought possible. Sunrise waking up without dread. Speech balloon conversations that nourish instead of drain. Light bulb ideas that light your eyes again. Person in lotus position silence that calms rather than isolates. White heart and a self-love so grounded, it no longer needs to be proven, only lived. Let's pause here and say something together. Repeat this in your mind, or out loud if you can. I forgive myself for the times I hid. I honor the version of me that survived, but I am ready now, ready to live, not just exist. Ready to feel deeply, not just function. Ready to rest without apology. Ready to rise. That is your declaration. And the beauty is, you don't need permission. Not from the world. Not from your past. Not even from your fear. Your soul is the only authority you need. So as we close this story, let this be your takeaway. You are not weak because you're tired. You are strong because you kept going anyway. But now, strength looks different. It looks like slowing down, letting go, resting, choosing peace over performance, healing instead of hiding, living instead of pretending. Your smile, from this day forward, doesn't have to be a mask. Let it be a reflection of someone who has returned home to themselves. Call to action. CTA, if this message reached your soul, don't keep it to yourself. Sparkles, like this video to honor your healing. Sparkles, subscribe if you're ready to walk this journey, not alone, but together. Sparkles, and in the comments, tell me, what truth are you ready to live out loud? Because this isn't just a video, it's a movement of souls waking up, rising up, and finally coming home to who they were always meant to be.